If the NBA playoffs were to start today, the Raptors would be facing the 76ers in the first round. In today's video, we're going to talk about how the 76ers could have a huge problem with one of their players if this series happens. Let's get into it. What is up, everybody? It's Jacob back with Amateur Hour Sports for another Raptors YouTube video. If you want the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, then you need to be subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports, and this video is powered by Betstamp. The Betstamp app line shops for you without the hassle. Take the Raptors game for tonight. You can get them for plus 100 on Sports Interaction or minus 110 on BetVictor. If I bet $100, I could be making $200 on Sports Interaction rather than $190 on BetVictor. Over time, you're going to be making so much extra profit on your bets, and Betstamp makes it super easy to do that. Download the app with the link in the description. Use code RAPS as a referral code on sign up to let them know that I sent you there. Do yourself a favor and maximize your bets. But let's get into our topic for today's video. The 76ers, they could have a big problem coming up for the playoffs. The problem has really been brewing for a few teams in the NBA, and there's a specific reason for it, and really it's through no fault of the 76ers organization. And it took the Raptors hosting the 76ers tonight to really reveal this information. And over the last couple of weeks or so, there's been some question to some of the higher seeds in the Eastern Conference about their vaccination statuses, because if you're playing the Toronto Raptors in the playoffs, and now the Raptors are guaranteed a playoff position, you need to be fully vaccinated to cross the border in order to play the Raptors. Consequently, all the Raptors players need to be vaccinated to cross the border and play every single U.S. game in the regular season. So the problem goes both ways. Fortunately, all the Raptors players are vaccinated. That is not going to be a problem. And this video has nothing to do with what your stance is on vaccinations. The reality is, if you want to cross the border right now, you need to be fully vaccinated. That's just the way it is, regardless of your opinion. So if there's a player on an opposition team who is not fully vaccinated, they are unable to travel to Canada to play in the game. And if it's the playoffs, that could be a huge deal. In the last couple of weeks, the Celtics and 76ers organizations have refused to reveal if their players are fully vaccinated, or if all their players are fully vaccinated. But with a recent trip to the Raptors to visit Toronto, the Celtics did not have a full cast of players. Now, some of those guys were resting, but other guys it could have been for different reasons. And we've learned that for the game tonight against the 76ers, Mattise Thybulle has been listed as ineligible to play. Now, again, this goes back to in the last couple of weeks where the Sixers declined to reveal if all of their players are fully vaccinated, which made lots of NBA fans on Twitter and all over social media question the vaccination status of Mattise Thybulle. Now, with the 76ers really gunning to move up in the standings, I mean, they're the 4 seed right now. If they want to move on to, they want to win a championship this year, they're going to want to get some extra little bit of home court, and moving up in the standings could help them achieve that. So for the 76ers, they want to win this game. They are not resting players for this game. So Mattise Thybulle being ineligible and not really revealing why he's ineligible for this game, it's quite interesting. Now, I'm not going to make any specific claims about Mattise Thybulle and his vaccination status, but this absolutely seems fishy. And I think, honestly, it's bad to assume things, but I honestly believe it is safe to assume that Mattise Thybulle has not been fully vaccinated and is ineligible and not allowed to cross the Canadian border. Therefore, if the Toronto Raptors manage to get this series to 7 games in this hypothetical series with the 76ers, Mattise Thybulle would not be available for 3 of those games. Obviously, the Sixers have a lot of other talented players, but Mattise Thybulle is a starter, and Mattise Thybulle is also the best wing defender on the 76ers. The Sixers, they play the Raptors, are facing a team that is basically all wings with Fred VanVleet. So the 76ers have to go into a series against an all-forward lineup, an all-wing lineup, without their best wing defender. That could spell quite a bit of trouble for this team. The Raptors have done pretty well against the 76ers this season. They're 2-1 against them in the one loss. It was a very close loss with a ton of injuries for the Raptors. Granted, there have been injuries for the 76ers over the course of those games as well, but tonight may be a preview of the first round matchup between the 4 and the 5 seed, because at the moment, that is the positions these teams currently occupy. So we might be able to see what the 76ers can throw at the Raptors without Mattise Thybulle playing, but him not playing is a big loss for the 76ers. Obviously, James Harden, Joel Embiid are going to be the main factors for the 76ers. But how much are they really going to be able to rely on them consistently? James Harden, obviously a superstar in the NBA, but he's really showing some shades of playoff Harden over the last couple of weeks of the regular season. Now, playoff Harden is a very real thing. There is a significant stat drop-off for James Harden as he enters the playoffs. Undoubtedly still an extremely talented player the Raptors are going to have to put a big focus on. But, I mean, you can't bank on Harden not playing well in the playoffs. You have to expect him to be at his best. That's just a phenomenon we've seen develop over recent years where Harden just doesn't bring the same level to playoffs as he does to the regular season. Joel Embiid, I made a video a couple of weeks ago suggesting that his least favorite opponent is the Raptors for what they throw at them, how they beat him up all game, make it so difficult for him to do what he wants to do on the court. The Raptors, I think, match up pretty well against the 76ers. And without Mattise Thybulle, I think they match up even better. So going over what this series would look like, the Raptors, I expect to go with an 8-man rotation for a possible playoff series against any team. They're going to go with the small ball starting lineup of Van Vliet, Gary Trent, Scottie Barnes, OG Anunoby, and Pascal Siakam. There's really no positions to that starting five other than the point guard and Fred Van Vliet. And then on the bench, you see 3 forwards in Boucher, Achua, and Thaddeus Young. I don't imagine we're going to put any more in the regular rotation for the playoffs. Nick Nurse really does not like to use his bench in the playoffs. The Sixers typically start with Harden, Milton, Thybulle, Harris, and Embiid. Off the bench, I expect them to have a 9-man rotation. I expect them to go with Danny Green, Shake Milton, Georges Niang, and as well as either DeAndre Jordan or Paul Millsap. I think they'll start the series with DeAndre Jordan coming off the bench and shift towards a more small ball center in Paul Millsap at some point as the series goes on, maybe taking away that 9th man out of the rotation altogether. So, without Mattise Thybulle there, one of their starters, it would be a definite miss for this Sixers team. They love to praise how good he is defensively. They love to praise him as this all-defense, perennial all-defense team sort of player. So him not being there for the series could definitely be significant. Now, 100%, the 76ers are good enough and talented enough to win this series without Mattise Thybulle available for just 3 of the potential 7 games. And if the series doesn't even go that far, they won't have to worry about it as much. For the home games, he's going to be available, but that is something definitely that they should be looking at. I mean, playoffs, you really want to have consistency with your lineups. You really want to get the chemistry going over the course of a long playoff run. A lot of the times, the best unit of players, the way they play together, is the team that goes on to win the championship. Without having a key player to their starting lineup for 3 out of possibly 7 games is trouble. Could cause a stir in the locker room, could cause a stir with the coaching staff. For a Raptors team that is going to be an underdog in this series regardless, we're going to take any little extra thing we can get. As far as the vaccination status and not being able to play in this series, that is completely on Mattise Thybulle. The NBA has set his regulations. If Mattise Thybulle, it's his decision not to get vaccinated, then it is what it is. That his decision is going to impact his team and impact himself. It is what it is. If he has made his decision, and obviously we're only assuming that that is the case, but the evidence would suggest that based on the fact the 76ers refuse to reveal if their entire roster is fully vaccinated. I mean, if they were fully vaccinated, why wouldn't they just say, yeah, everybody's all good to travel across the border? If that was the case, they would have just said it. I think it's safe to assume that there is a player who does not have the fully vaccinated status to play in Canada in the playoffs and in any regular season game. And I think based on the fact that Mattise Thybulle has been listed as ineligible to play this game, things line up really well here. The Raptors do a phenomenal job of defending Joel Embiid, and I think the way James Harden plays his game, we have the tools to limit what he can do on the court. For that reason, I give the Raptors a really good shot in this series, and if Mattise Thybulle is not available for the games in Toronto, where the Raptors are going to have that huge Scotiabank Arena crowd behind them, I like the Raptors in those games to at least win 2 of those home games. Like at least 2 of those home games. So all of that, all of the information that we now possess about this potential series, I really like the Raptors' chances. Again, I'm still going to say the 76ers are the favorites, even if my claims here are true about Mattise Thybulle, but goddamn it gives the Raptors a much better opportunity to come away and move into the second round. The 76ers are not going to want to play the Raptors in this series regardless, because they're going to want the Chicago Bulls the way they play against good teams. And if they also can have Thybulle, their best defender for some of the games, they're going to want the Raptors even less. So what are your guys' opinions on the claims that I am making? Do you think that this is true? Mattise Thybulle cannot play in Canada? And if so, how are the Raptors going to fare in this series? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it from me for today's video. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you are still here, it surely means you enjoyed the video, and that definitely deserves a thumbs up. Helps out the channel a lot. Let's get to 200 likes on this video. And of course, if you want the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, you need to be subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports. Download the Betstamp app, sign up with code RAPS on referral, gives me that extra little bit of support, and start maximizing all of your sports wagers that you are going to be placing. Anyways, it makes a huge difference, I'm telling you. See you again next time for another video.